Have you ever walked down a street you've known for years and wondered how much of the original layout is still hiding right beneath the concrete? Today, we're taking an uncut walk down Phillip Street. It's the legal backbone of Sydney, all glass, steel and high-flying barristers. But as we make our way down to the water's edge at Circular Quay, we're actually tracing the exact path of a legacy left behind by the man who started it all, Governor Arthur Phillip. Most people just see a modern thoroughfare. But if you know where to look, this street holds the clues to how a rough penal colony was forced to grow up around one man's vision, and how the city layout today still battles with the ghost of 1788. Just over there, you'll notice a big shift in the brickwork on those New York-style Art Deco buildings. You've got the dark orange brick on the left and the lighter tan brick on the right. It looks like two separate properties, but this is actually all the same historic complex spanning 165 to 167 Phillip Street. This exact spot was the original home of the University of Sydney Law School, built back in 1938. The reason it's split into two different brick styles today is due to a massive modern facelift by Smart Design Studio. They deliberately styled the dark orange side to frame the restaurant entrance, while the lighter side leads into the boutique hotel lobby for the Sebel Sydney Martin Place. Right next door, at number 153, the architecture shifts to this grey stone facade with those grand arches. Completed in 1929, this was the historic Sun newspaper building, a rare example of interwar skyscraper Gothic style, and the first in Sydney to use a special synthetic cladding called Benedict stone. Older locals might remember it as the GIO Insurance Building, but today it's premium commercial real estate packed with elite law firms, operating as 153 Phillip barristers. Stepping out into the wide open plaza of Martin Place, the view completely opens up. This is where Sydney's historic sandstone heritage meets a massive wall of modern glass and steel, and on a clear day, the way the light reflects off these towers is incredible. But it's not just about the premium commercial real estate towering above us. Right beneath our feet is where the city's modern pulse really beats. The massive investment in public transport infrastructure, including the major Martin Place metro station upgrade, has turned this historic financial heart into one of the most connected transit hubs in the southern hemisphere. It's seamlessly moving thousands of corporate workers through the city every single hour, blending 19th century grand design with 21st century speed. Have you noticed the palm trees along the footpath here and wondered why on earth they're in the middle of Sydney's financial district? It honestly makes you feel like you've accidentally walked onto a film set in Miami rather than a high-powered corporate street. Those Canary Island date palms were actually introduced to the city back in the late 1800s by a botanic gardens director named Charles Moore, who was absolutely obsessed with giving Victorian Sydney a grand, exotic feel. Town planners kept them around this precinct decades later because they are incredibly tough, one of the few species that can actually thrive in the deep shadows and heavy concrete reflection cast by these massive high-rises. It's a brilliant bit of green infrastructure hiding in plain sight. If you're enjoying this walk through the city and picking up a few secrets along the way, do me a massive favour, smash that like button and help us absolutely break the algorithm today. It takes 2 seconds, but it helps the channel out in a huge way. And while you're hitting that button, can we just do a quick call out to the City of Sydney Council about these share bikes scattered all over the footpath? Look, I think the bikes are a great idea for getting around, but I swear, if I left my bike lying around like this when I was a kid, all hell would be to pay. Anyway, moving past the bikes and looking across the street, you can see a massive amount of construction taking over Chifley Square. They are building a brand new 41-storey premium commercial tower right next to the iconic curved glass sail of the original Chifley Tower. This whole block is transforming into a massive multi-billion-dollar corporate precinct, a perfect example of how much this city keeps growing. You'll notice as we walk through here that Phillip Street isn't a straight line. It has this distinct dogleg bend right around Chifley Square. It's a quirky bit of Sydney town planning that completely breaks up the rigid city grid. But if we could rewind the clock 100 years, you wouldn't be looking at towering glass and steel. This exact stretch of Phillip Street was lined with classic 2- and 3-storey Victorian terrace houses. Back then, it was a dense, bustling neighbourhood of terrace homes, legal chambers and local residences. In the mid-1900s, the council completely cleared those historic terraces away to reshape the road grid and carve out Chifley Square. Standing here on the footpath today, it is wild to think about how completely Sydney sacrificed its old 19th century soul to build the financial powerhouse we're looking at right now. Alright, look. If the video right now isn't perfectly matching what I'm talking about, just excuse the chaotic camera work for a second. The footage is doing its own thing, I'm doing mine, and honestly, none of it is making sense right now. I think I desperately need a coffee. This is Chifley Square, and it is easily one of the most uniquely shaped public spaces in Sydney. But why is it shaped like this? And who designed it? It actually started all the way back in 1908, when city planners dreamed of a grand Parisian-style geometric plaza to open up the grid. But it took decades for that dream to actually happen. The first person to give the square its iconic shape was an architect named Felix Taverner in the 1950s. He designed Qantas House, the green glass modernist building sitting right on the left side of the curve. He deliberately bent his building to match that 1908 plan. But here is where the drama happened. In the 1960s, the federal government built a massive, boxy concrete block right across the road that completely ignored the curve and ruined the square. It wasn't until the late 1980s that New York architects Cohn, Pedersen, Fox stepped in to design the towering Chifley Tower on our right. They demolished the government block and designed the base of the new tower to perfectly mirror the curve of Qantas House across the street, finally completing the grand semicircle nearly 90 years after it was first dreamed up. As we walk right under the massive awning of the iconic Sofitel Sydney Wentworth, look at the pavement beneath our feet. When this opened in the late 60s, it was Sydney's ultimate luxury hotspot. You are literally retracing the exact footprints of global icons who stayed here. We're talking Queen Elizabeth II, Pope Paul VI, and even Neil Armstrong. It is wild to think about the absolute legends who have walked this exact stretch of concrete. As we walk up here, we must talk about these towers. Dominating the left side of the screen is the spectacular curving glass sail of Aurora Place. Designed by the legendary Italian architect Renzo Piano, it stands at 218 metres high and was built to mimic a giant fabric sail catching the Sydney harbour breeze. And then, as the camera pans, right, you see how it frames the street perfectly with its massive neighbour, Chifley Tower. Towering on the right at a massive 244 metres to its spire, this New York-style giant by Cone Pedersen Fox creates an incredible contrast. You are looking at Italian artistic genius on the left and bold American corporate elegance on the right, completely taking over the sky. As we stand here at the corner of Bent and Phillip Street, it is time to look past the modern glass and steel, because we have just walked straight into the old backyard of the First Fleet. Right where these massive skyscrapers stand today used to be the private gardens of Australia's very first government house. When Governor Arthur Phillip pitched his canvas tent here in 1788, this entire hillside was his personal domain. Phillip Street, the road we are looking down right now, was actually named directly in his honour. It is wild to be walking down this street and realise that the high-powered corporate heart of Sydney was once just a quiet dirt track in a backyard where the colony's very first leaders mapped out the future of a nation. To understand the ground we are walking on, we have to look at the man who started it all, Governor Arthur Phillip. When he steered the First Fleet into Sydney Cove in 1788, he wasn't looking to build a brutal prison camp. He genuinely wanted to build a colony. Against unimaginable odds, starvation, disease, and a completely alien environment, Phillip's sheer force of will kept the settlement alive. He was incredibly forward-thinking for his time. He insisted that convicts be given a chance to reform and earn land, and he strictly ordered that the local Indigenous people be treated with respect, famously refusing to retaliate even after he was personally speared in the shoulder during a misunderstanding at Manly. By the time he sailed back to England in 1792, he left behind a surviving town right where we are walking. He didn't just govern Sydney, he practically willed it into existence. Just across the road from where we are walking is the exact spot where that first government house stood. Today, it's home to the Museum of Sydney, and it is definitely worth a visit. When they went to build the modern office tower on that site in the 1980s, diggers struck gold and uncovered the original stone foundations of Governor Phillip's 1788 home. Instead of building over it, they preserved the ruins right in the public plaza out front and built the museum to protect them. If we look closely at the pavement over there, we can actually see the footprint of the old house marked out in the stone. It's a brilliant place to stop, step back in time, and see the foundations of modern Australia. Now, as we cross over Bridge Street and continue heading down Phillip Street, I want to give a quick shout out to our other videos if this happens to be your first time joining us. We have covered almost every single street we've crossed so far on this journey, so if you want to see the full story of these neighbourhoods, definitely check those out after this. But as we keep walking down past the Quay Quarter Tower building area on our left, let us let you in on an absolute secret. Look up at the building's terrace, you will see this incredible, vibrant, yellow, ribbon-like structure looping through the space. If you follow that bright yellow trail, it leads you right into a fantastic hidden garden oasis tucked away on the podium. It is a stunning, lush escape from the concrete jungle, and thousands of people walk right past down here every single day, having absolutely no idea it's even up there. Now, if you are watching this and thinking you would love to do this walk for yourself, it is incredibly easy to replicate. You can lace up your walking shoes and start right where the city begins, either jumping off the train at St James Station and wandering your way down, or starting right at the edge of the water at Circular Quay and working your way up. And look, if walking isn't your thing, you don't even have to do it on foot. You can easily grab one of the many share bikes scattered around the city and pedal your way through these grand streets at your own pace. But as we continue heading down toward the harbour, just take a second to appreciate the changing contrast of this journey. Think about where we started, tucked away in the dense, ultra-modern corporate canyons of towering glass and steel. And now, look at how the street is opening up, giving way to these beautiful, historic, old sandstone facades. Sydney has this incredible way of blending the cutting-edge future with its deep colonial past, and you feel that evolution with every single step you take. Before we reach the end of the street, I really want to take a quick second to say a massive, heartfelt thank you to our amazing channel members and all of our subscribers, to the long-term community members who are always down there in the comment section, dropping a line, sharing your own stories, or just saying a quick hello. You genuinely have no idea how much that means to us. Producing these walks takes a lot of time, but seeing your familiar names pop up and reading your supportive feedback is exactly what makes these videos worth making. You are not just viewers, you are a massive part of this journey, and we are so incredibly grateful to have you walking alongside us. And with that, we have officially made it to the very end of Phillip Street. As we step out here, the towering skyscrapers open up completely, and we are greeted by the beautiful breeze of Circular Quay with the iconic Sydney Harbour Bridge right out in front of us. It is the perfect place to wrap up today's walk. Thank you so much for exploring these incredible streets with us today. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below to let us know where you want to walk next. Until the next adventure, take care, and we will see you in the next video. See ya.